We're going to talk live now with Tyler Gregory. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Jewish Community Relations Council. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us here during Quad 4 News at noon today. We appreciate your time.
Pleasure.
Just wanted to get your take on what happened at SFO today from your perspective. Do you think that this protest was effective, and how does it impact the Jewish community?
Well, we believe in the right to protest, but not in a way that inhibits people's ability to travel, to go see family, to attend funerals, weddings, celebrations. We are deeply pained by this war, and at the same time, it seems like these protesters have lost the plot, that Hamas carried out a terrorist attack, that 138 people are being held hostage, and Hamas is hiding under schools and mosques and densely populated areas to try to escape the IDF and to maintain power. So the goal of this war is to remove Hamas as a terrorist organization and return the hostages, and it seems like they've lost the plot at this point.
You know, Tyler, this is not the first demonstration for us here in the Bay Area or nationwide. What are your thoughts to protesters and today's protesters who are calling this conflict abroad an act of genocide?
Well, I think that that's outrageous. We know what genocide looks like. The Jewish people experienced the Holocaust, where the Nazis systematically murdered 6 million Jews. More than half of the death toll, they've reported 30,000, are Hamas fighters. And so I agree with the president. The Israeli government and the IDF needs to do everything possible to minimize civilian casualties, and yet this is Hamas's survival strategy. They're hiding in densely populated areas to try to stop the war because they know that that's their only way of surviving this. And so it's important to have nuance, something that unfortunately these protests that we've seen lack.
Does it feel anti-Semitic to you?
It feels anti-Semitic when the attacks are on us as the American Jewish community, when we are being perceived to be an acceptable scapegoat for the war. We see a lot of parallels in what's happening now to the wave of anti-Asian hate that happened during COVID, something else that happened on the other side of the world. And American Jews, Bay Area Jews, are feeling the brunt of this and are often feeling unsafe where these protests are happening.
Tyler, what are your thoughts about how our elected leaders have chosen to approach this conflict overseas? You know, we know that the president recently talked about setting up a port to get humanitarian aid over to Gaza, for example.
I think that we have to do everything in our power to help the people of Gaza. They're struggling. They don't have enough food. They don't have enough humanitarian supplies, medical supplies. I applaud the Biden administration for doing everything possible to help these displaced people. Those are our values, and so we think that everything should be done to help the Palestinian civilians right now.
Do you anticipate there being more protests like this that are disruptive? We've seen what happened on the Bay Bridge. Now we're seeing what's happening at the International Terminal at SFO. Are you prepared to, continue going through these emotions?
Unfortunately, I think that this is going to be with us for some time. We've seen anti-Semitism rise by more than 300% since the start of the war. We've seen the collective punishment against the Jewish people happen. It's deeply unfortunate. I'm more concerned about what's happening in our public schools, where young people are being scapegoated and bullied. We're hearing from countless number of parents. And so, yes, these public disruptions of the Bay Bridge and SFO are troubling, but I'm more worried about our young people and not feeling safe in our education system. That's where I'm most acutely concerned.
And while we're on the topic of anti-Semitism, are there any actions that your organization is requesting of our elected leaders, of community members, to combat that?
We're asking for strengthening of enforcement, strengthening of hate crime laws, making sure that the UC system and our higher education system enforce laws on the books to protect students right now. We're hearing a lot of reports from college-age Jewish students that they're not feeling safe on campus right now. And so, we care a lot about protecting minorities and being a multicultural state. But unfortunately, the enforcement of our laws seems to be falling short of our aspirations. And so we're hoping that police departments, law enforcement, and our legislators can help close that gap as soon as possible.
So when people are watching these protests, they're hearing what we're talking about and what you're saying. People want to be able to do something. I think on both sides there is a desire to end, the death and the destruction. But what can we as a community do to support what's happening in Israel and in Gaza?
Well, I would say first and foremost, let's support the humanitarian needs on both sides. We've said since day one that there's enough empathy to support the Jewish, Muslim, Israeli, and Palestinian communities that are all facing the brunt of this, all connected to people that are impacted on the ground. And so to support medical efforts, humanitarian needs on both sides of the conflict is the priority. And number two, to support Jewish and Muslim advocacy organizations right now that are combating anti-Semitism and Islamophobia emanating from this conflict, because this war cannot come to the Bay Area. We cannot have two minority communities that are historically marginalized face the brunt of what's happening overseas.
Tyler, how confident are you that a ceasefire is going to happen here?
I'm not confident. Israel has agreed to a 6-week ceasefire to return the hostages in exchange for a mass increase in humanitarian assistance. I think the Palestinians are looking for that. It's Ramadan. I think that the time is right for it. Hamas has not accepted the terms, and that's what Secretary Blinken and President Biden have stated, is Hamas is the holdup. So my mass confusion with these protesters is, why aren't you pressuring the Arab world who have leverage with Hamas to get them to accept this ceasefire deal so that we can stop these devastating effects of the war? It's on the table, and Israel has effectively accepted that. So I also question, are these protests addressing the right actor in all of this?
Do you think that the call should be release the hostages versus ceasefire?
I think they are the same call, because the ceasefire would arrange for a return of hostages in exchange for prisoners and allow more aid to come in, all during Ramadan. I think it's a great deal for both sides. I will say the word permanent is the holdup. There is no permanent ceasefire with Hamas. There was a ceasefire on October 6th before they carried out this mass attack, and the Israeli public is worried that they're going to be able to do it again if they're not eliminated from power. We need to rebuild Gaza, turn it back into this amazing place that it has been before Hamas took over, and turn it into a terrorist state. And so both for the Palestinian people and the Israeli people, we think Hamas has to go, and that the international community can help to rebuild this place.
And Tyler, is your organization joining with others to make any sort of public statements in regards to today's demonstration?
Look, I don't think that we want to, as an organization, add heat to what's already a tense situation. We believe in dialogue. We believe in civil discourse, including with those that we disagree on policy matters like these. But the best thing that we can do is educate our elected officials, our neighbors, about the stakes for Jews and Muslims in this war, and to really encourage folks that there's a way to go about this with feeling like they have to pick one side or the other side. Both sides have real families that are really hurting right now, and there are ways to do this that are not divisive, that are not hurtful, and that don't alienate essential parts of our Bay Area community.
So, Tyler, we have a statement here from CARE, which is the Council on American Islamic Relations. I want to read it here and get your thoughts on how they've presented this today. This is from the executive director. It reads, "We are appreciative of the many people locally, nationally, and globally who are continuing to engage in protests to call for a ceasefire now. As Palestinians in Gaza are being pushed to the brink by Israeli genocide, all people of conscience must continue to speak out and take action to end the suffering." So that's their take on what has happened today, and I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I'm disappointed to see that. And I think that if they want the ceasefire to happen, they should turn to the actors that speak with Hamas, that still have leverage with Hamas, like Qatar, the Islamic Republic of Iran. These are the actors that can help achieve a ceasefire if that's what the goal is. And so the Biden administration and the state of Israel have accepted those terms. And so the question is, are you looking in the right place? I don't think so.
And Tyler, we're on the topic of relief efforts as well. Are there any specific needs, demands that your organization has been hearing about with regards to the conflict overseas that people can help support? Maybe it's donations, that sort of thing.
United Hatzlaha is a medical organization that supports emergency relief on the ground in Israel. And many of the hospitals in Israel are taking in victims from Gaza in the fighting, supporting Palestinians as well. So I think that there's a number of first aid response organizations that help both Israelis and Palestinians impacted right now that people can be supporting.
Tyler Gregory is the executive officer of the Jewish Community Relations Council. We appreciate you coming on here at noon today on such a short notice so we can talk about the situation not only in Israel and in Gaza, but also what happened today at San Francisco's International Terminal. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for the opportunity.